Okay, new week. Our guys are excited, obviously, for the opportunity this Saturday. To have a chance to play a very talented team like Florida at their place in the Swamp. And that's an environment that many of our players had probably watched for many years growing up, and for them to get an opportunity to go compete on that stage is definitely one that all of them are looking forward to. I think for me as a coach, I'm looking forward to seeing how our guys handle the crowd noise. This will be our first road game of the year, and I'm expecting it to be loud like it always is there in a night game. And so for us to be able to operate on offense and with all the motions and snap counts and all these type of things is definitely going to be a challenge and one that we need to be prepared for. The thing about Florida stands out on tape is they're very physical, really, in all three phases of the game. They play very physical. They play hard. They're very strong at the line of scrimmage on both offense and defense. Their offensive line's done a really good job this year and running the ball, and their defensive line, in my opinion, is elite. I believe this will be the best D-line that we've played in the 2.5 years that I've been here. Just watching the video. They've got a bunch of guys, a lot of depth. They got a bunch of NFL guys, future NFL players over there on their defensive line. So that's something that really stands out. Coach Napier and his staff have done a good job, in my opinion, watching the first two games and just how hard their guys are playing, and not a lot of busted assignments. Guys are understand their job and are where they're supposed to be on defense. And at the end of the day, it's game 3. Early in the year, and this really is a good measuring stick to kind of find out where we are as a team, how we match up to a top team, super talented, and our message to our players is the same as it was last week. All right, we got to focus on how we play. We can't worry about the opponent, can't worry about where we're playing, can't worry about all those things. We got to worry about improving. And I did see it definitely wasn't perfect last week. Still got plenty of things to correct. But I saw a step forward from week 1 to week 2, and we're going to have to take a big step forward from week 2 to week 3, going into this type of environment versus this type of team. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
How do you simulate the environment? What do you do in practice to prepare yourself?
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, you've got to change up how you do your snap count. Obviously, you can't go in a verbal cadence, but also, we'll go with a lot of crowd noise. We introduced that today, and we've got some pretty big and loud speakers out there. So our guys will hear plenty of that this week in practice. And then a lot of it's it's got to be eye contact with each other, and sometimes some hand signals, and just a little bit different than when you're playing at home. It's really more of an issue for your offense than it is for the defense. But we definitely introduced a lot of that today, and we'll have to continue doing that all week long in practice.
Jeff, does it help that you faced Florida last year? You guys got a taste of to some of their players over there?
Yeah, I don't know if that helps. I would say there's familiarity with them, but this looks like a different team through 2 weeks than maybe where they were last year at that time. I think this group is I don't know. I think they're 2 or 3 plays away from being 2-0 and being top 10 in the country. It's just maybe a different feel than it was last year at this point. But I think for us, that was almost a year ago. Early in the season last year. So they've changed, and we've changed kind of since that point. And every year is kind of a new year. But yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, playing them and going through that a little bit last year, there'll be some lessons from maybe how we played and prepared last year, and things we need to do different this year.
Jeff, any injury updates?
We do have some guys that are battling some injuries and working their way back. Hoping to get Matt Hill back this week. We'll see how he continues to progress. Antonio Greer, we're hoping to get him back. Joe, we're hoping to get him back. And we won't know till later in the week on Christian Williams. And I think that's about it for right now.
Jeff, after the Brigham Young game, You said the only thing Saturday proved was that we're not ready to be the top 25 team.
Yeah,
Florida's a top 25 team.
right.
Your players probably saw that statement, so how
Right.
do you do with that?
Well, I would say that after we finished the BYU game, we were not ready to be the top 25 team. And that was 2 weeks ago, and that's the exciting part about football is each week is a new week, and you get new opportunities to grow. And we'll find out after week 3 whether we play well enough to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have to play very, very well to be able to compete with these guys because they're super talented. I mean, it's 4 and 5 stars at every single position. There's not a weakness position-wise, offense, defense, or special teams. So we don't have to play perfect, but we're going to have to play a lot better than we played. And so, whenever I kind of, if you had a scale of kind of 0 to 10 of maybe what our best looks like as a 10, I would say what I told the players today. I would say what I've seen first 2 games, we're at about a 5. So that's good and bad. The bad is we're not playing our best yet. The good is we have a whole nother level that we can go to. And I think those guys know that as well. And, that's our job as coaches and the players' job during the week in practice to improve those things. And all we can do is control what we can control. And I want to see us go out there and play the very best that we can play, whatever that looks like. And then at the end of the game, we'll look up and see how that matches up, against them at the end of the day.
Jeff, obviously, you know Billy well. When you looked on the film for the first 2 games, can you tell the stamp that he's put on this program compared to the one you faced last year?
Yeah, I would say, it's tough because I don't want to sit here and try to say something that they weren't last year and talk about, previous coaches or anything like that. But this is what I'd say. You can definitely see a team that is, they're playing extremely hard. They believe in what they're doing. And, fundamentally, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a backside tight end that's not involved with the play. I mean, he's doing his job like the game depends on it. And, Billy is a very, he's a fundamental coach. He believes in fundamentals and techniques and playing hard. Then offensively, you definitely can see his stamp and the things that he likes to do and move guys around. I think that shows up a lot. But overall, they look very disciplined to me. They're playing extremely hard. I'd say that the biggest thing that stands out right now, I know and have known that they're explosive on offense. They've got a lot of weapons there. Quarterback's an incredible, phenomenal athlete and really can score at any moment. But really watching the video after not watching them until getting a chance to this week, what stands out is their defense, I think, has a chance to be elite. They're really, really good up front. I mean, you're looking at both Utah and Kentucky that had to leave extra guys to help that offensive line and chip those defensive ends. And when they didn't, the quarterback got hit. And so I think that stands out pretty quick. I think they're going to be a really, really strong team as the year continues.
What are the ties between you and your family and Billy?
Yeah, so actually I met Billy whenever I was in high school. He was one of the quarterbacks at Furman, and I went on my official visit to Furman. I was being recruited by Furman, and I met Billy there for the first time. And then, whenever I finished at Clemson and went on and coached high school ball for a few years and was coaching at Presbyterian College for my first college season in 2007, Billy was coaching at Clemson. He'd started there as a graduate assistant and moved up as an assistant coach. My dad was coaching at Clemson at the time, and Billy was the recruiting coordinator. And then whenever I came to Clemson in 2008 as a GA, and Billy was the recruiting coordinator and tight ends coach. And then in the middle of that season is when Coach Sweeney got elevated to head coach, and Billy became the offensive coordinator. And I moved on full-time to receivers coach. So I worked with him full-time there for those 2 seasons. And really I learned a lot from Billy as a coach, but I probably learned even more about recruiting because he was the recruiting coordinator. And then I took over as a recruiting coordinator when he moved up to offensive coordinator. So whenever all the coaches went home, there were many, many late nights that he and I just would sit in the office and talk about, things we can do in recruiting and strategy and all these things. And the other thing, I have a lot of respect for Billy because, after Coach Sweeney's second year there at Clemson, we lost to South Florida in the bowl game. And Coach Sweeney had to just kind of change some things up on the offensive staff and made a change. And I kind of watched Billy, as he kind of went back and kind of built back his career and did it in an incredible way. Obviously, working at Alabama and going on and working at Colorado State, and then at Arizona State, and then at Louisiana. It's one thing as a coach maybe just to kind of have success and move your way all the way to the top. But Billy, did really well at Clemson, then had to restart and kind of recreate his path. And I think that says a lot about his resilience, who he is as a person. And I think he's going to be very successful at Florida because of he's very process oriented. He's kept every handout and every note from every meeting that he's been in, since he was a GA at Clemson. I've seen his notebooks from Bama. I mean, he has every single thing, and he's meticulous. And so I'm not surprised to see that he's worked his way up, to one of the best jobs in the country there at Florida, and I think he's going to do an outstanding job in his career.
Coach, is there a plan to go up Friday and get a walkthrough at the Swamp?
No, that's actually funny you say that. We used to do that back in the day. We really don't do that anymore. I don't know if other people do that anymore or not, but I guess we did that one time. We did that at Notre Dame 2 years ago. But no, we're going to do all of our work here, and then we'll stay in Ocala, and then we'll drive over from Ocala Saturday evening.
Jeff, what's the message to the team to kind of give them confidence going into a game that obviously looks lopsided?
Yeah, the big message is, it was the same message I gave them last week, just kind of on the other side of it, that the best team on paper doesn't win. It's the team that plays the best, right? And it just so happened that last week there was about 4 or 5 examples of where that exact thing happened around the country. And so, yeah, when you look at it on paper, we're not going to win the game on paper for sure. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the team that plays the best for those 4 quarters. And so, we need to do everything we can in practice right now so that we can play our absolute best. And whatever that looks like, we'll look up at the scoreboard at the end of the game and see how that matches up. But it's really kind of the big message that we want to have for our team as we move forward. It's easy to kind of get excited and starstruck over the stadium and who you're playing and all these type of things. But really, for us to have success, we got to kind of bring it down very narrow, zoom focus into controlling what we can control and how we do what we do and not who we play. So I think our guys know it's a tall task, but they're excited about it. And if everybody knew who was going to win every week, I don't think we would probably even be playing any of these games. Right? It'd be pretty boring college football season if the heavy favorites won every week. So at the end of the day, it's going to be the team that plays the best for those 4 quarters, and that's what we're focused on right now.
Do you think some of the slow starts that you guys have had over the last 2 weeks could maybe be solved by tweaking your script at the beginning of each half a little bit?
Yeah. Well, we didn't really get a chance to run our script. Last week we changed it up, and because Howard was super aggressive with her corners, jumping hitches and those things, so we decided to try a double move, and they were in a different coverage and kind of got into an ugly play right there. And it took us 3 drives really we didn't get a lot going those first 3 drives, and then from the 4th drive until the last drive that the ones played in the 4th quarter, I think we scored 6 touchdowns on those 8 drives, so we really kind of got it rolling. But like you said, those first 3 drives, it was just too slow, and then same thing against BYU. That's something we got to kind of figure out. How to go out. We can't afford to have a poor first quarter in any game, but especially in a game like that this week. We kind of tweaked a few things in our practice schedule. We're doing a little bit more good on good at the very beginning of practice instead of kind of easing into it through special teams and individual and all that. So maybe that intensity at the beginning of practice can translate over to the game.
Sounds like.
How
Go
important
ahead. Sorry.
How important was it for this team's confidence, not only to beat Howard, but the way you beat them? I mean, the 4th quarter was real strong.
Yeah.
And with the rest of the season coming up.
Yeah. No, I think it was really important. I think, again, you learn a lot about your team, and you may think you know something about your team based off of, off season, and you evaluate everything you can. But at the end of the day, it's all about the games, right? You get in these games, and all of a sudden it's 14-7. And when we played the game out in our mind, we didn't have it 14-7 at halftime. So all of a sudden, this is another one of those moments to kind of find out, okay, how are we going to respond? Are we going to say, oh, here we go again? Or are we going to take some action, lock in on doing our job, put our head down, and not worry about the result to the very end? And I felt like our guys did that. So that was a positive to see, how they responded in that situation. I mean, and again, it was kind of that day in college football where there was a lot of that going on, and there's probably a lot of those other teams that were in a similar situation at halftime, and they were not able to kind of get over that hump. And so, that's a positive, and we want to build off of that. And yes, it made us feel a lot better maybe about the scope of the game. But as we kind of come back and watch the video, is hey, we don't need to let it get till that point. And there's going to be less room for error this week, obviously, than there was last week. And so, trying to clean those up. Yeah, there's no doubt. The way we were able to finish in the second half, I think, was able to give our guys some confidence. And then the other thing is, we played with there was a lot of guys that were out, especially defensively, there last week. And then as the game went on, we put in a lot more backups. And, so it was good with a very difficult non-conference schedule. There's not a whole lot of opportunities for those 2s and 3s to get real game reps. And so that was an opportunity. Because we were able to take over in the third quarter and get the game to where it was, it allowed us an opportunity to get a lot of those younger guys some reps, where maybe that's going to be a little bit more difficult here these next 2 weeks before we start conference play.
Sounds like with the way you're describing Florida's defense, there's a premium on your offensive line playing well. We know how experienced they are. How well have they played so far, and
yeah.
What do you look for this week from them?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge challenge. I mean, I think when you look at Utah and Kentucky's offensive line, I think both of them have really good offensive lines, and there's some bad pictures in there just because I think their nose guard, number 21, I believe, is over 400 pounds, and he just runs that center straight back. And so it's going to be some big challenges. I think, number one, we as coaches, have to have a really good game plan and what we're asking our guys to do. We've got to kind of mix up some of our blocking schemes and not be as maybe predictable, where those guys can kind of get a running start and know what we're doing. So it's a little bit of us coming up with some schemes that'll help our guys and really use the strength and knowledge that our group has. I believe in our offensive line. They've got really good chemistry. They work well together. There's not a lot of bust and missed assignments. Usually that group's on the same page. But that's going to be a big task. I mean, this game, there's plenty of great athletes on both sides of the sideline in this game, but it's really going to be a big night for our offensive line against their D-line and our defensive line versus our offensive line.
Jeff, you saw what Anthony Richardson was able to do against Utah, with running the football with his legs. Kentucky was able to shut him down, and that making him kind of a one-dimensional athlete. Is that kind of the key for you guys going in? Is not get hit with those big runs? Yeah, I think
I would say Florida's offense has shown already this year, and with those guys that have played in the past, even though Anthony's just maybe starting for the first time, we saw him up close and personal last year in our game, and they're very explosive on offense. I think their wideouts are big and can really run and stretch the field. They've got some really good tight ends that are matchup problems. They've got 3 or 4 running backs. I saw Etienne, Travis Etienne's brother, and he looks just like Travis did at Clemson, except I don't know that Travis looked like that as a true freshman. Watching him play this past week, I mean, he's already a big-time playmaker for them. But and then obviously the quarterback. I mean, it's difficult when you're playing a dual-threat guy that can throw it. He has an incredibly strong arm, and he's got wideouts that can stretch the field. But also, if it's not there, you've seen it in a couple of those games. He takes off and runs, and 50-yard touchdown just like that. So I think for us, it comes down to playing the call, doing your job, doing your responsibility. And then a big thing this week is we're going to have to be able to wrap up with those backs, those wideouts, those tight ends, and then the quarterback. I mean, he's a big, strong guy. And we're going to have to tackle better and wrap up. That's going to be a big key for us to have success for our offense.
Jeff, you said a couple minutes ago you learned a lot about recruiting
Yeah.
those times together. Any lessons that you learned from that you still kind of carry with you? Any pointers?
Yeah. I mean, there's some little things. Number one, big picture thing is that you got to be willing to put in the work. You know, a lot of times some coaches may look at recruiting and say, oh, it's the end of my day, let me just make a call on the way home. And I mean, if you're not recruiting every day and, you know, working extremely hard to get to know everybody, you know, around that recruit, the family, all these people, and developing close relationships. So I think, number one, he just spent a lot of time on it, and he was able to develop relationships very quickly. And then, you know, also he believed in handwritten notes, where a lot of people, it's just text messages or sending a graphic. I mean, he's still, from that point, and I've seen him all the way through, you know, believes in handwritten notes. One of the funny stories is I was recruiting, I'm not going to name the player, but I was recruiting a top player down in Florida. This has probably been, I don't know, over 5 years ago. And he was a senior, and I had a home visit with him, and you know, I had written down a bunch of things and just kind of some points about why Clemson. And then about an hour, I felt really good about it. I left. I felt really good about it. And about an hour and a half later, I got a text message from Billy, and he was at that kid's house, and he was holding up my notes. And Billy's like, pretty good. I like this. And a lot of the things that I'd learned from Billy along the way. So it's just kind of funny how it kind of becomes a small world, right? And you kind of see these guys. But I mean, Billy's just a hard worker, very detail-oriented, very process-oriented. He's not in, you know, I remember one time, my first year coaching wideouts, again, he was the coordinator, and I was out there yelling at a wideout because he dropped the ball, and I was just yelling because I was mad, and Billy kind of called me over there and said, hey, don't just yell because you're mad. Like, tell him what he needs to do. Like, what does he need to put his thumbs together and eyes to the ball? Like, give him specific instruction on what he needs to improve. And I mean, that just for me as a young coach, like that really, you know, like, yeah, that makes sense. Don't just get out here and just yell to yell. Like, let's give, you know, that's something I've carried ever since then, right? Detailed instruction. And obviously there's a time and intensity in your voice and all that comes with it. But just being very detailed in your teaching. And then also I learned from him in recruiting, you know, you'd be going out, and we had our recruiting areas, and you'd be in your area all day, and, you know, he would call me later that day and said, how'd it go today? And I said, oh, good. I saw 12. I went to 12 schools and all that. He's like, that's good, but how many, like, recruits did you see? Like, how many real guys did you see? This isn't just about tagging the schools. Like, we got to, like, make sure that, you know, we're hitting and we're seeing real guys every day and everything that we're doing. So there was just a lot of those kind of, I don't know, he was a young guy that had maybe a 3 or 4 year head start than me getting into college. And I saw how well respected he was. Obviously, he's very well respected. That when Coach Sweeney became the head coach interim, he moved him up, and Billy was in his, you know, mid-20s at that point. So he was very well respected on that staff as a position coach and a recruiter. And so, just me being a young coach, he was a guy that I really, you know, looked up to, listened to. And then even after he left Clemson, you know, we stayed in touch for many years. I've talked to him, you know, my first 2 years here when he was at Louisiana, and you know, there was a lot of calls there, just kind of asking him, even this summer, dealing with some of the things in recruiting and NIL and all these things going on. I called him several times this summer just to kind of get his opinion on some things. So he's definitely a resource and you know, more than just a friend off the field, but definitely a resource in the profession.
I don't think you've been involved in the game in the swamp since you were like a kid, right? When
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah.
Do you have swamp memories? I know there's one particular game that might rank up there. Like,
Man, is there a long time ago? So I have memories when my dad was coaching at Florida State, obviously, and I was on the sidelines. And then I remember several of the games when my dad was coaching at South Carolina, and I was on the sidelines. But this would be my first. There's not many places in the Southeast that during my 12 years at Clemson that I didn't get a chance to go and coach in that venue. And if I sat here and thought about it real quick, I would really say as a position coach, coordinator, on the field coach, this may be the only place in the Southeast that I haven't had a chance to coach. But you know, I got a lot of family that's from Florida that grew up and went to school at Florida, and Florida fans and all those things. So I know the passion. And I mean, I was really young. There were some really good games between Florida State and Florida. I don't think we competed very well a couple of the years my dad took South Carolina down to Gainesville, but the Florida State, Florida game, I remember just that environment and how loud it is. And, it's one of the great college venues and what makes college football so special.
Were you on the sideline for the Warwick Dunn pass?
Yes, yeah.
When it went silent?
Right, yeah, I was there. I was 12.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to remember last year right now. But, yeah, no, I do. I remember leaving there with good feelings and bad feelings, for sure.
Coach, how important is the kicking game going to be, especially punting, making Florida go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, having a chance to go out and compete against a talented team like this, we've got to play well in all three phases. And, special teams is an area where we've done some things really well and some things we still got to improve on. I think punting is an area where we can get better. I mean, you don't want to give this team any short fields. We need to definitely be able to win some field position battles there. And then we're going to have to cover well on kickoff, and we're going to have to, look for some big plays on kickoff return, and then obviously on field goal and field goal block, very important. So, I mean, our message for our guys is, we need to play our absolute best in all three phases when you're playing a talented team like this.
How formidable they are, what you guys in the O-line have in front of you on Saturday?
It's a big challenge for us. It's definitely something, that'll test us. And, they're great players. They have a great front. They have great depth, too. Something we're ready for is something that, we're battle tested. We played them last year. We played teams, just as big as them, players just as big as them, people just as talented, if not more talented. So, it's not about the guys in front of us. It's just about us, doing our job and being all on the same page. And I know that if we do that, we'll take care of business.
Brad, growing up in Jacksonville, were you a Gators fan? Seminoles? What was your allegiance?
So yeah, I was a Gators fan my whole life. I was a really big Tim Tebow fan. That was right about 6 was when I really started paying attention to college football, and that's kind of when Tim Tebow was at Florida, winning the Heisman. So, I was a Florida fan growing up, and it is cool getting to play them now, but I'm a Bulls fan now.
With that said, what would it mean to win in the Swamp?
Oh, it'd mean everything. Getting the opportunity to play them is already, a really, really cool opportunity, really big. But, beating them in the Swamp would be something I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
So the coach was saying you're trying to simulate the noise and the environment, and you can only do that to a certain point. But how big is that going to be a factor? You guys' ability to handle that environment?
I don't. It's definitely a factor, but I don't think it's going to be a determining factor. We've played in loud environments before. We played last year in BYU, which is extremely loud. We played against UCF, extremely loud. And I know that this stadium will, holds more, and whatever you want to say, they get loud. But it's something that we prep for. We have all types of different answers when it comes to snap counts or how we communicate. And so I think we'll be ready for it. I know we'll be ready for it. So I don't think that the sound will be, or the noise level will cause problems for us.
To say that defensive tackles are pretty big guys is an understatement. How do you handle a guy 415 pounds, a guy 328 pounds? Is there a plan? Do you double team? Do you try to turn him? What goes on?
We try to use all of our strength and get up under them pads. 440 pounds or whatever he is. He just looks huge on film. It's obviously sinking into your double teams, being on the same page, being hip to hip. I know I'm getting deep into football talk, but it's important when it comes to O-line play. Just staying tight on the double teams. And I think for these guys, they're 21 is definitely the biggest kid we'll play all year in terms of just mass. So getting together on the double teams, but they're big, but we're ready for it.
Most important thing is low man wins, right?
Oh yeah.
What else jumps out about their D-line when you watch them on film?
They're physical. I think that they play the game, how it's supposed to be played. They play hard, they play fast, they play physical. I think they do a good job of reading their gaps. They extend the O-lineman out, look in the gap, see what's going on in the backfield. I think they do a good job of that. Their ends are fast and strong, and their interiors, like you said, they're big and strong. So I think that they're pretty stout, from the 1s to the 3s. But like I said before, it's all about how we play up front. It's all about being on the same page, sinking into our double teams, communicating, and that's all we need to do to take care of business.
Obviously, we've talked so much about the offensive line experience and just what Just how important has it been to have Coach Mo, as a stable, reliable source of teaching over the last few seasons? Because before that, it was, almost a revolving door of offensive line coaches.
Yep. It's just as important as, continuity on the team. Having a coach that's been there and, has been through it with you, that's just as important as anything else, because that's something we talk about all the time. We go through hard stuff together. We've been through, tough losses, tough games, tough practices where we're out there. Like Coach Mo is the most intense coach I've ever had. Like he cramps with us, and it's crazy. Like when we have a tent break, he's over there chugging pickle juice just to coach us harder. And it's like, just having him alongside with us, it's not, he's our coach, but he's definitely in the fire with us. And I think that that's extremely important for us, and I think that that's been, that's helped us progress the way we have, and that's helped us stick together for as long as we have. It's just him being there and being that, that force that, that keeps us together, and, just that continuity.
Has it helped, how has it helped your development in terms of, obviously it's been consistent teaching of maybe one philosophy as opposed from one year you get this to the next year you get a different style of play or something like that. Just so how's that been in terms of just overall development and being consistent in scheme and things like that?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy how big of a difference it makes when that first year, he's teaching you how his practices are run. He's teaching you how he runs individual drills. He's teaching you, your base steps. But now, you enter year 2, year 3 with the same coach. The things that you're coaching are so minute, and it's so like it's for one play against one front against one type of player. It's like, how do I get my hands inside on a 440-pound D lineman? And it's little details like that you don't get in a first year of coaching or, a new coach keep coming in. So I think that's played a huge role into, not only my development, but everyone's development on the offensive line is just those small details that you don't get to work, in the first year when all you're trying to worry about is which direction am I going.
Fred, obviously you can't get caught up going in eyes wide open and into the swamp. It's the Gators and all that. What are you drawn to kind of build confidence, going up against a matchup like this?
I think we draw confidence from our preparation. We've worked extremely hard from literally the day the season ended last year. And I think that brings us confidence. Like you said, we can't get caught up in the stadium lights and, all the fans that are yelling, whatever they're yelling. Just falling back on our preparation. One of my favorite quotes is, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to your training. So that's something that we're going to have to do is just fall back to our training. And I know that we prepped well enough over the summer and in camp, and we're going to this week of practice. We did it today to take care of business.
Was Trey falling back on his training on a play that doesn't get talked about that much? The interception where he ran and knocked the ball out? I thought that was a big play.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
The play where Jacobs knocked the ball out of the guy who looked like he was going to have to take it. That was a big play.
Yeah, it was. Trey's a physical player, and you could tell by that hit he rocked that kid. But yeah, it falls back to our training. The play's never over until the whistle blows, and then it's get one extra shove if you need to. But yeah, I mean that's just our mentality. That's the way we trained the whole summer. Was always going that extra mile, taking that extra step. Getting the extra rep for times like that. When there's a missed block or a missed assignment, and someone like Trey just sees the ball up in the air and goes and levels someone and keeps us on the field.
And the other guy to your right, Mikey, has been getting more reps. What's it been like working with him?
Yeah, he's a fantastic player. He's a young guy, so it's good for him to get in there, get some experience. He's got a lot of raw talent, and now it's just getting those game reps, getting him, the feel of game speed and, just feeling the game, because practice is totally different than a game. But, he's a great player. I think we have a lot of he's getting a lot of experience, and he brings a lot to the table.
Brad, we heard about your involvement with the charity this week. Can you explain what you're doing and what the involvement is?
Yeah, so for those of y'all that don't know, I work with a charity called Big Man, Big Heart, and it started with Dylan Gibbons. Dylan Gibbons, he's an offensive lineman at Florida State, and I'm the ambassador for USF. And basically what it is, it's there's one ambassador at a couple schools across the country, and you use your NIL for an initiative, and so that's someone in your community that your university's in, using your NIL for good to start up a GoFundMe, raise money for that person. So for me, I saw Bodie. He's a 7-year-old Bulls fan with leukemia, and right then I talked to Dylan. I said, this is what I want to do, and so we set up a GoFundMe. We posted on Twitter, and we've been working to trying to get more money into that GoFundMe to help with the costs that are associated with everything that's going on in his life. And also, we've been trying to work things out for, trying to get Bodie, a jersey. I've been FaceTiming with him for the past couple of weeks now, just catching up, talking to him about the games, and trying to get him to games for whenever he's feeling all right. And so this month is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and leukemia, the color for the awareness of leukemia is orange. So his dad reached out to me and wanted to take it beyond me and kind of take it to the team and pass out these orange bracelets, and that's why I'm wearing it. It's obviously Childhood Cancer Awareness Month this September, but I'll keep it on and wear it past September, and I'll be handing these out to the team, and you'll see us wearing them. But it's extremely important, and one of the things that I really loved the most was how quick the team jumped on to support Bodie. I talked to them. Every time I've mentioned Bodie, they're so quick to help, whether it be, retweeting the GoFundMe on social media, whether it be, wearing a bracelet, posting on social media, just showing their support. And, the love that the team has showed towards Bodie has been incredible. And it's our relationship with Bodie and, the team's relationship with Bodie is only going to grow from here. So that's a little bit about that.
The way people can help is to contribute to the GoFundMe?
Yeah, so the GoFundMe is it is in my bio on Twitter and Instagram, and I can go post it. I can post it again today. But yeah, it's a GoFundMe, just like I said before, to help with the cost of his, all of his treatments, all of his, any medical cost that comes up. So, and it's all going straight to his family. Yeah.
My experience with the Swamp, with the Gators, I played them 4 years. I won 2 out of the 4. It's an amazing experience to be able to play in the Swamp. It's a beautiful crowd. They get a little rowdy at times, but it's nice, especially when you beat them. It's even better. So that's my experience.
How much do you think that experience will help you going into this game, and has anybody else on the team relied on you for that experience?
My experience playing the Gators is like I played at the top level, so I know what it's like to play against hybrid O-linemen and the quarterbacks and stuff like that. So I get what it's like to play. So I just try to just let my teammates know that we got a chance, because I know what it's like to play against a team like the SEC team. So this is my experience.
So the guys that haven't been to the Swamp coming to you and saying, what should we expect?
Can you say that again?
The guys that haven't played at Florida at the Swamp, are they coming to you and say, hey, what should we expect?
Some of them is. I mean, at the end of the day, we playing football, but you might hear the crowd start chanting and start saying crazy things to you. But I mean, you gotta block all that out. When you're out there on the field, it's the team and it's the team, and it's like the teams that are going against you. So, yeah.
So you beat them in 18 and last year, right?
Yeah, I beat them in 18 last year. Yes,
okay. So first of all, what do you remember about the 18 one? You guys beat them pretty handily.
I mean, I don't remember much, but I just know we beat them. I was a freshman. I was a young pup, so I got a couple snaps in, but we beat them, and I was happy with it. So,
and then
yeah.
What about the one last year?
Last year it was a pretty big game. It was a senior game for me at the school I came from. I had a game changer sack, so that was amazing. That was an amazing experience for me. It's something I'll never forget, and hopefully I can go back and do it again.
Did you have a favorite experience or favorite stadium, a favorite away stadium to go to while you were in the SEC?
Yeah. As a freshman, I remember going to play Alabama. We went to that stadium. I never went to an NFL game, but that was like the closest thing to an NFL game to me. Like it was packed out. The crowd was going crazy. And they turned the lights off. Everybody turned their phones on. It was amazing. Like it was something different. Yeah.
These first 2 games, it's felt like you've been able to get probably the most consistent penetration of anyone on this defensive line. Just how happy have you been with your performance in your first 2 games at USF?
I'm happy with my performance, but at the end of the day, I want to get a W. I want to win. Like, I can perform to the top of my ability and still lose. Like, I'm not satisfied. Like, I want to win. So this is my main goal.
How important is that first series to get off the field and no points be scored?
This important. Like, this how you want to start the game. You want to start the game fast. You want to be able to come out, get them off 3 and out, or get a turnover. Like, if you can start the game like that, we'll have more momentum. And like, just getting them off the field, getting the offense off the field I feel like that's very important. Like, starting the game out, like, they give the team hope. They like, especially when you're in a away game, you're gonna need your sideline. You're gonna need all the penetration you can get. You wanna capitalize on certain plays. So yeah.
Obviously, just talking with Jeff, he said there's obviously a lot of upsets just last weekend in college football. You guys going into this game as a big underdog. What gives you kind of confidence that you guys can knock off the Gators?
I feel like the preparation. I feel like the things we're doing at practice, I feel like it's all about us. Like, we can't really focus on too much what the Gators got going on. I feel like if we accomplish what we need to accomplish and just take care of the things what we can do, like, like I said, capitalize on plays and getting 3 and outs, just doing little things like that, I feel like we can go a long way.
That's the first time I've heard the word beautiful to describe the crowd at Gainesville. It sounds like you enjoy that kind of environment. Like, how do you approach going into a big crowd like that?
Like I say it's beautiful because it's like where I come from, there's not too many people that have the opportunity to be able to do what I do, to be able to play in front of a crowd like that. And especially when you win, oh man, it's great. It's great.
So when you came out of Forsyth, Georgia, you wanted to go to Florida at one point.
Yeah, I said that was my dream school, but not no more though.
So that being the case, with that history, what does it mean to play against them? Is it even more special lineup against
Oh,
them?
it's so special, man. I'm looking forward to be able to play this game like this. Like, I've been thinking about this game since I got here. You know what I'm saying? I've been ready to play Florida. Like, this is, I ain't gonna lie, like, I'm so ready to play them. I can't even describe how much I'm ready to play them. Like, I'm giving my all. I want everybody else to give their all, and we should go out there and handle our business.
You saw what Kentucky did to Anthony Richardson last week, kind of making him one-dimensional and took his running game away. How critical do you see that going into this game?
I feel like, Florida going to have their little game plans or whatever. They're going to go back and watch our old games, and they're going to feel like they can come through and run on us. I feel like we just stop the run, stop the quarterback run, stop the running back run. I feel like we got a chance. I feel like we're going to have a chance. I feel like the D-line just got to come out and stop the run, period. Like, they shouldn't run the ball on us.